Welcome to Don't Eat Yourself to Death, a podcast brought to you by Llena AI. Hi, I'm your host, Charlotta Carter, CEO of Llena AI, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Rinaldi Jacobs. On Don't Eat Yourself to Death, we cover preventative care, diabetes maintenance, and doctors and change agents, while we highlight healthy eating and innovation. Llena AI Solutions is a digital diabetes management platform with personalized recommendations powered by our proprietary artificial intelligence. My personal journey with diabetes is I was diagnosed at late 2017 and was able to utilize nutrition, exercise, and coaching to get off of insulin. Grandmother, my aunt, passed away of diabetes, and this is why I'm on this journey. My whole family has a history of diabetes, and I'm here to break the cycle. Mr. Rinaldi Jacobs, tell us your story.
Well, my story is similar that everybody in my family, just about all the older brothers and sisters, have diabetes. And my mother had diabetes, and, it was all part of her overall medical, health journey and having to manage that. But we're talking about the 60s and the 70s into the early 80s. And of course, now, it's a whole different treatment system that we use for people with diabetes. And part of it is our diet. We, of course, here in South Louisiana, have a rich diet of foods that we may like, but you can literally eat ourselves to death. So that's part of my journey, is to make sure that people have a clear understanding that you can eat well, you can eat good, but you have to eat to live.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Jacobs. And now we will introduce our guest speaker for today. She's a guru in data scientists and health, is Dr. Fatemeh Malekian.
I work at Southern University Agricultural Research and Extension Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And as Mr. Rinaldi was saying, the food in the South are amazingly rich. I don't know, we can say good nutrition or bad nutrition, it is very rich in things that sometimes we don't need. And it's a culture that we get together and we eat and we eat and we eat, and that's not good for our health. So a lot of the population in Louisiana, especially in the surrounding area where I work, are dealing with diabetes. So it's important for us to work with them and, somehow to educate them how they can handle the amount of food that they eat and enjoy their life the way that they're supposed to, instead of just watching their amount of food, watching how much sugar is in there, constantly thinking about exercise, which can be stressful by itself. And that can cause a lot of other issues if we don't watch.
Dr. Fatemeh, are there some general do's and don'ts about eating healthy and maintaining good health so that we can avoid these chronic diseases like diabetes and heart disease and kidney disease? What are some general do's and don'ts about eating healthy?
Eating healthy, I must say that starts actually when the baby, is conceived in the stomach. And I can use examples of myself, because when I got pregnant with my first daughter, I gained so much because I was enjoying my life and I loved my pregnancy. And then after that is how you feed the babies. We say breast milk is the best, which I have found out that it is. And even though the babies get very chubby per se, but then you can control that by feeding the babies healthy food, put the vegetable and fruits, introduce that in a way that they like it, and just continue that eating healthy throughout the whole life. As you know, us mothers, ladies, because most of the time we are the one who cooks in the house, we can control what we put in the diet. And when we talk about healthy diet, it's not that you have, as I said earlier, you have to count everything and make sure that everything is, to the point of being the amount that your body needs, because we know one size doesn't fit all. Everybody needs different amount of nutrient, different amount of calorie based on your physical activity, based on, the culture that you have been raised. But in general, the thing that we can do, as I said, from the childhood until we are, older, and we are at the age that, we need, again, help for feeding and stuff like that, when we get too old, is to watch what we eat. We have plenty of, especially in the United States, we are blessed with food. Fruits and vegetables are plenty. So if we can start eating plenty of fresh fruits and vegetables every day, watch what kind of meat we are consuming. We don't need that much meat every day. We don't have to eat meat every day. We can have beans in place of meat, and there are other good stuff that we could use. And how much fatty stuff, how much fried stuff we get, that can help us a lot to control our weight, to control the diabetes from the beginning. Of course, we have to mention that, such as diabetes 1, type 1, those could be genetic, and we cannot help that. They have to go to the doctor and get medication or inject insulin. We are mostly talking about type 2 diabetes, that it can be controlled with nutrition. And the things that we don't want to do, as I said earlier, we don't want to stick to fried food every day and have processed food. Everything natural, as we grew up in my generation, was healthy, was perfect, and we processed it over the years because we all work, and that is causing all this headache for us.
All the fast food. And Mr. Rinaldi, you had a question. I wanted to make sure we got that in there.
Dr. Fatemeh, one of the things that you mentioned is from starting at birth, or while the baby is inside of your great mothers. And doesn't the American diet, even starting with children's food, hasn't it changed a lot? In particular, what I'd like to focus a little bit on is the community that we're trying to reach out to, the minority community, where there's a lack of fresh food, where there is a lot of fried foods, where there are a lot of processed foods, simply because of income and location. So how does having, all of the don'ts, how is that affecting our generation? Yes, we grew up with healthy food and things around us to a certain extent, but how does that affect children now and adults and adolescents who are now becoming, parents and themselves?
The future generation. Unfortunately, the news is not good. If we are continuing feeding our children the fried food, and as you said, you brought a very good point, Rinaldi, and that's some areas that they are called food desert. They don't have access to fresh food and vegetable. If they have it, it's very minimum. So it's not something that it's just by, something we can pinpoint one thing. It's a lot of things that connects together. So the bad news is that if our children are using the same diet that we are talking about, they are going to be the generation that at the age of 40, 45 maximum, that's the prediction, that they are going to have heart attack. They're going to die from diabetes, because we know that childhood obesity in the recent years has increased drastically compared to the generation before. So it is alarming. We have to work together. It doesn't matter what position we have. We all have to work together to fight and change policies and why not bring all the good stuff to the areas that we are talking about, Rinaldi? Why we have to have some area that they don't have access to fresh fruit and vegetable, and then on the other hand, we have areas that they have so much that they throw it in the garbage can. So there is no balance here, right? So we
Right.
need to change policies. We need to work together to bring everything. And that's always have been my dream, to see one day that everybody is treated the same when it comes to food. Everybody has the same amount. I'm not saying the richness and money, but when it comes to basic necessity, which is food, we all must have this access to all the good stuff.
Dr. Fatemeh, obviously, no discussion can be had without a discussion about the effects that the COVID pandemic has had on the way we eat, on the way we receive our food, and where, even more importantly, for poor communities and disinvested communities, how they get their food. So, what are some of the things that you think COVID's changed in the interim?
That's a good question. COVID has changed a lot of things in our lives. I know that for myself, when this started and I stayed home, I started cooking every day because, we work every day. So I was not cooking. So I started cooking. And I know a lot of people at the first few months, especially, that we couldn't go out. All the businesses were closed. We all started cooking. I know if there was somebody who had freezer and they had food in their freezer, but we are talking about people who have limited access to food to start with. And if they don't have all the ingredients, how do they survive? I know there were a group of people that they were distributing fruits and vegetables. They were distributing prepared food with having the distance of 5 to 6 feet, regulated like that, and wearing masks, using hand sanitizer. And those were the first few months that it was very limited. Then after that, a few businesses started opening. They were doing delivery, which I doubted. Personally, I never used the delivery system. They're good. They're following everything, but I'm not sure how they do it in the kitchen, how they wash their hands. And that's me. But a lot of businesses, food businesses, started working like that for the people that they have limited access. That was hard because they didn't have the financial support to pay for the person to come, and then they have to pay for the delivery system. So I found out that the cooking in the house with the family was one of the nicest results of COVID. People got closer to each other.
And Charlotta, I know that the old joke of the COVID-15, where people were gaining an average of 15 pounds because they were eating at home.
Yes.
And so with the change in the way food is being delivered to us now, let's talk a little bit, Charlotta, about your program that you created, Llena, that helps people to understand a better way to eat and to eat to live. So why don't you talk about the relationship between Llena Food and Southern University?
Absolutely. A little bit about Llena itself is it's a mobile app that you can enter in all of your biometrics. And what I mean by that is you can enter your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your preferences. And what it'll do is recommend nutrition that you need based on what your body's telling you need. And with that, it's a basic understanding of how to connect to the community. What we want to do and what we've been working on with Southern University is we're sort of the interface to the community to allow you to say, this is what I need to eat. And Southern University is plugging into Llena to give you access to those healthy options. So whether it's coming through Southern University Incubator, or whether they're teaching you how to prepare a meal, whether they are teaching you the logistics of data science of how to combine food together, you get that connection back right on your mobile phone or on your laptop, because we'll connect you to that. We can connect you to recipes you can cook yourself. A lot of those will come from the incubator, the Southern University group, if they want to put those recipes together and make them available to the community. They will be available to you, and you can actually use those to cook. If you want to order, like Dr. Fatemeh said, if you have that option to be able to order food online, you can do that, or you can just go into the grocery store it'll create a shopping list for you on what those healthy items should be. So what we're doing is giving you ease of access. So like a really good front end to be able to say, hey, my blood sugar is high. I need something that's really low in glycemic index. And glycemic index is the value of the carbohydrates and sugar in the foods that you eat. So making sure we're kind of keeping those low, it'll give you some really good recommendations to keep you healthy. And we're growing that every day. So you had wanted to add some more to that, Rinaldi?
Yes, well, some of the things I know that we're working with restaurants and we're working through the university. So we're giving people, as they come out of COVID, options. So if they're going to their local bistro, they might, it's right in your hand on the things that you can eat. Okay, you can't eat the deep fried French fries and chicken fingers and the other things that you might want, but you might be able to get some baked chicken,
Yes.
some steamed vegetables,
Yes.
and it's right there in the palm of your hand. We've made Llena so easy that people don't have to guess about what they're doing. And that's the part that's important, because now even, everyone, show me somebody who doesn't have a smartphone nowadays, and especially, people who have limited mobility and limited access. Llena can really actually help them with the delivery services being offered by, the major grocers. And Charlotta, you can get a little bit into that part of the business of how this app is really, really growing, and we're bringing in great partners. But Dr. Fatemeh, I want to get back to you, and we're going to talk about some of the things that's close to our hearts in Louisiana in terms of eating, but it's also probably could be damaging to our hearts in terms of eating. The basics of a lot of Louisiana's diet are things like rice, beans, sauces, gravies, in a number of, sweet dishes, sweet potato pie, pumpkin pie, pecan pie, so on and so on and so on.
Peach
so Dr.
cobbler.
Fatemeh, I'm sorry?
Peach cobbler.
Peach cobbler and all kinds of fried stuff.
Cobbler.
Dr. Fatemeh, if you had to sit down and make some good old Louisiana gumbo, what are some of the ways that people can cut down on some of the carbs in just a basic meal like gumbo?
We know that gumbo it has a rule. Sometimes you prepare it, you have it prepared, or sometimes you make it yourself. You use flour. I know I have a friend who uses rice flour instead of bleached processed flour. That's one thing you can do to start your gumbo. Then when you have your all the ingredients that you put in there, like for example, if you're putting chicken in there, please take the skin off of your chicken. I know that you don't fry the chicken before you put it in the gumbo. You just throw it in there. But if you take the skin off, you have taken a lot of fatty stuff out of the food. And then if you're putting sausage, try to get sausage. There are so many healthy choices out there. I know it is expensive sometimes, but in the long run, if you look at it, what your heart is going to do if something happens to it, the cost of your heart disease or heart attack is going to be way, way more than a few dollars over the sausage. Your sausage can be low-fat sausage, mostly with herbs. I know there are so many different ones. And anything else, most of the time you put vegetable. I know my son-in-law makes a gumbo that is all I tell him he put all the seafood or sea animals in there with everything that they have, legs and eyes and everything else. So those are not that bad, but in general, if you just watch and cut some of for example, you don't have to put that much oil when you are frying your flour. Just a little bit, just watch. And when it comes to eating, most of the time we eat it with white rice, correct? We can substitute that with brown rice. I know I work with a lot of people and they say, well, brown rice is not the same texture, it's not the same thing. But brown rice, if you think about it again, is better for you than white rice. White rice is one of those food that it has a very high glycemic index, because as soon as it goes to your stomach, it breaks down to glucose, and glucose is the one thing that it goes to your bloodstream and increases. If you are diabetic, increases your sugar in your blood, and then you're going to have a spike. And then a few, maybe 20 minutes later or maximum an hour later, you're hungry again. So this way,
what about the substitutes, Dr. Fatemeh, like
yes.
cauliflower rice?
Cauliflower, that's great. If you can handle cauliflower, grated like rice, that a lot of people are doing right now. They're making pizza, crust with cauliflower. They're making rice, because it does look like rice. You are absolutely right. It looks like white rice. Sure, you have so much flavor in the gumbo. So if you serve it over grated cauliflower, you're not going to even, taste anything. You think you are eating rice. So, and it's all in our head too. I've got to say that too, that when we are eating, if you're constantly thinking about, oh my God, this is not white rice, so of course you're going to be kind of very concerned about it. But you eat because you are thinking that you're eating healthy. That is for gumbo,
Well, Dr. Fatemeh, what if because we all cook gumbo, so we all have our different ways. But I haven't tried this one just yet. My sister swears by it, but baking
the chicken,
baking the flour in the oven until it's a golden brown, opposed to using butter and oil.
Frying it, sure.
So is that another way of making the roux? It's not going to cut down on your carbs, but it will cut down on the oil. And if you're using maybe turkey sausage, and you render that fat out of it, that's another option to be able to do that. I'm on the side of the seafood side, so I throw in the shrimp, the crab, the scallops, so I just kind of fill it up with that, and the sausage, and all the vegetables. But if you make it right and it's thick enough, you don't need rice at all.
just Dr. Fatemeh, because you're part of consumer sciences at Southern University, in Louisiana, they passed a law that says, because we are heavily dependent upon white rice and these other things, a law that says that you can't label cauliflower rice as quote unquote rice. Isn't this a little bit confusing for the consumer?
And in the state of Louisiana, we are one of the 5 states that produces rice, okay? Let me give you an example. One day I was serving lemonade. I told people to drink water, but add lemon to it, right? And then I said, instead of sugar, you can have a sugar substitute that's all natural. Like, for example, stevia. We are not talking about a specific market, but these are the scientific ingredients, stevia, and make it sweet. And in the audience, there was somebody who was working for the sugarcane company in Louisiana. After the meeting, he came to me and he said, why do you say that? You're taking business from us, Louisiana, that works with sugarcane, that producing sugar. It's the same concept about, I am sure they passed the law, because we are one of the 5 states that produces rice. So if you tell people, come on and eat broccoli instead of rice, what happens to the rice production? So, but the other side.
What happens to the person's health?
Exactly. But
you're sacrificing somebody's health,
life, exactly.
Rice business. So
that is the point.
I think we need to be open about both and let people make their choices.
That's right.
Speaking of healthy choices, and of those healthy choices, that's what Llena does. And in our last and closing few minutes, ladies, could we tie back Llena to its strong roots of community and how we plan to use this not as some high level kind of app for people who are going out to places that the common person can't afford. Charlotta, what made you keep it basically down to earth, groundbreaking for people who can afford to use it?
To give you some sense of the market or the type of numbers of the people that are diabetics, there are over 100 million diabetics in North America. The top rated or our competitors are only focused on maybe 2 to 4 million of those folks. Diabetes doesn't decide whether they want to go into the poor neighborhood or the wealthy neighborhood, but I wanted to make this available to everybody. And your hardest hit diabetic communities are the underserved communities. And we wanted to make sure that they had access to healthy choices and healthy eating without having to be part of some corporation. If you're not working at some corporation and you can't participate in a particular insurance company and you can't get access to a proprietary device or set of devices to use there, you can't participate in the program. So I wanted to open this up to everybody. So whether or not you want to plug in your numbers manually or whether you have a Bluetooth device that will update automatically, you can use Llena no matter who you are, where you are, 24/7, and it doesn't really matter. So we're making this open to everybody because we want everybody to be able to make the choices they want to make based on what their body's telling them. Now, we'll give you some great, choices based on what you're saying. But if, we give you some salad that you don't like and you go out and get fried chicken, that's on you. but we're here to help you because in my journey of going through getting my diabetes under control, I found it extremely daunting. And I was at home cooking every day for a while to get it down. But I did, before COVID, I traveled quite a bit. So I needed to know where I could eat once I was out. And that helped me quite a bit. So it will help you whether you're cooking at home or whether you're, ordering from a restaurant or going to pick up. And then soon, very soon we'll have food trucks back on, back in the community as well, too. So we wanted to reach everybody. And 100 million people is way too many folks not to give them an option.
In our final segment, our final question to you, Dr. Fatemeh. Given that Llena is cutting edge in terms of food nutrition, food proximity, and an understanding of better diet, would people who are using Llena stand a better chance of beating the statistical curve of the bad stuff that you mentioned, heart attacks by 40, and I know a young man recently who 44 years old died of a heart attack. He was, of course, a little bit overweight, but these things are silent killers, are they not?
You're absolutely right. So if the app is available to the communities that we are talking about, underserved, and they have the proper training, how to use it, the main thing is that they know how to use it, right? So we're going to make sure that they get the proper training and spend enough time with them to use it properly for the people, especially who are dealing with diabetes. I think this app is going to help them a lot. I personally, sometimes I get apps, but I don't know how to use them. And I get, discouraged. I said, well, this is too hard and et cetera, et cetera. But I think the main key is teaching them, work with them on a daily basis and show them how they can use it in their benefit. Like, for example, if they are looking for an item to put it in their food that it has a low glycemic index, what is the list? What are the options? And then the serving size, how much they are supposed to be eating it. That's one thing that we have to concentrate for sure, the serving size, because it doesn't matter, even if they're making everything healthy, if they sit and eat the whole meal that we have made, we are taking too much calories, correct?
So we've got to make sure. Yes, I agree.
Yes. So we've got to make sure that they all know about serving size too.
Yeah, so we all love to get those big. We love to get those big plates. And Charlotta, just as a final point, talk about the ease of use, because Dr. Fatemeh has brought up a point of, we get these apps, and I probably have 20 of them on my phone, and everybody doesn't have a teenager available to show us how to do. It's like, what does this app do, or what have you? Talk about the ease of use of Llena for people.
The way we designed it is it prompts you. So you can go through, set up your profile, and set up when you want to eat. So it will prompt you at breakfast time and say, Rinaldi, it's breakfast time. Here are your numbers. Here is your blood sugar. Here's your blood sugar. And you determine, whether or not you've updated it recently or not. It'll tell you that anyway. And if you need to update it more frequently, you update it and you choose, do you want to cook food for yourself or do you want to order? You click on cook food for yourself, gives you a whole bunch of recipes that you can eat based on the information you have in there. If you have all the ingredients, go for it. If you don't, there's a drop down in there. Originally, there's the Amazon Fresh drop down. You can order from Amazon. That's what we have available now. And we're going to be working with Southern University Incubator to make them part of that drop down so you can get food from the incubator as well. And if you want to go to a restaurant, you click on restaurant and it will determine where you're located by GPS and give you a list of restaurants. You can select those, give you a list of the menu items, and they'll be highlighted red, yellow, green, meaning these are good, these are okay, these are really bad. So it gives you a really good sense, very simple. We try not to clutter the interface and just give you what you need to be able to just make those choices on a daily basis. So that's how we're just making it simple.
Well, and thank you so much, ladies. I think that Llena is a game-changing app, and we have a good belief that it will change lives because we want to help people not eat themselves to death. I'm Rinaldi Jacobs with Charlotta Carter and Dr. Fatemeh from Southern University's Ag Center, and you've been listening to Don't Eat Yourself to Death.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. Don't forget, check us out on social media and subscribe to us. Thank you for joining us.